Yep. Time to head out. There's my bloodhound. Such a good guard dog. Has no idea what she's barking at. Trixie! Anyway. It's a little after 6 in the morning. We're gonna tear out of here. Head to the job. So every morning, me and Dad, we usually meet up for coffee. That's how we start our morning. We'll meet up for coffee, and Dad always eats breakfast. Depending on where we're working at, I don't always eat breakfast. I don't know. Not that I don't like to eat, because trust me, I do like to eat, but just some mornings I do, some mornings I don't. But Dad eats breakfast almost every morning, and we drink coffee together every morning. We'll sit in there and drink coffee with what I call the other old men. It's just, looking back, it's guys that I've grown up with all my life, and they've honestly, a lot of those old men that I've grown up with, because I've grew up in the coffee shop with my dad, these little small town coffee shops, and I've got to where a lot of those old men, they're like some of my best friends, and we're 40 and 50 years apart, but they're like some of my best friends just because I've known them my whole life, and they've watched me grow up, and they've been there. We've laughed and joked around. The older I get, the more I learn from them. And now, some of the things I've learned from them probably aren't always good. I mean, there's a lot of things you learn in coffee shops you sure don't learn in school, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, I've learned a lot of good and great things from those guys, and I've watched a lot of them pass on. And every year, we lose a few more of them, and I hate to see that. I really do. I mean, I think it's really important for younger people to spend time with that older generation of folks. Of course, I was raised with my grandparents, from the time I was born, and I called my grandparents mom and dad because they were my mom and dad growing up. I always felt like I had kind of a advantage or leg up in life being raised by my grandparents and that older generation. It's just you're around them, and they've been there, they've done the trial and error, and of course it's not that you always listen being young growing up, but you get to hear it firsthand anyway. Then once you mess up, then you realize. But anyway, I post pictures of this setup, my truck and pedal hitch trailer with these little skidders on them, and it never fails. And don't get me wrong, you guys from the Northeast, there's a lot of you guys I really like and talk to all the time, but it never fails. It never fails. There's one or two, those jokers up there in the Northeast and New England area. We'll post a picture of the truck and trailer, what we're doing at work. Like, oh, you'd never get away with that up here. Yeah, well, I'm not in a raging liberal state either. It's not my fault that what we can and can't do, in our different areas. You being in the Northeast, me being in the Midwest, we're hundreds of miles apart, and Missouri's kind of like the Wild West of logging states. I mean, there's really not a lot of rules and regulations, and about it, I'm not going to say anything goes, but as long as you use some common sense, I mean, there's not a lot of things holding you back from doing stuff here in Missouri. I mean, we can't just run and gun, do whatever we want, but at the same time, I'm running legal on this truck and trailer setup. I'm not hauling an illegal load. It's not my fault that in upstate New York or wherever you live that you can't do it. Sorry for you, but here in the good old Show Me State, we can. And like I said, it's always one or two guys from up in that area when I post something. Like, well, you'd never get away with that here. Not my problem. But it's looking like we're going to have a good weekend of logging. We're going to try to work all weekend long. It should be a sunny day, sunshine today, supposed to be warm. No rain in the sight in forecast, I think, until next Wednesday. So we should have some prime days to get some timber out. So I'm excited about that. I'm loving how this truck's pulling. Loving how this new truck pulls a load. Man, this thing just, it goes down the road great. It handles the load, stopping, pulling, going. It just, man, it's this thing, for these little skidders, this thing, I would, after having this, I would never go back to an F350. Would not do it. Wouldn't do it. This 550, in my opinion, not that it means a whole lot, is the way to go. I mean, this thing is just, love it. Absolutely love it. So guys, let's get out here and let's go see if we can get some timber out. I don't know how much we'll drag today, but we're definitely gonna drag some, get a few out. We might let the ground kind of settle one more day. Not that it's wet, but we're on a rock pile. It's solid limestone, so we're not gonna sink down. There's Brandon's truck there. He parks here and rides to work with another guy every morning. It's his little Ford Ranger, his gas mileage truck. But let's go out here and get some wood out. We got some pretty good pieces of wood out here. Pretty good little morning dragging. Most of these me and Dad had cut already. We did cut some more this morning, but most of what we did, we just we took the skidder there and we drug the trees and tree tops up and put them in a pile. Then we drug the logs over here to a good decking area. But there's some pretty good sized pieces of wood in there. There's a couple big ones right there. I mean, there's really nothing in there too small. Just open prairie, long drags out here. I mean, long drags just to get them to a place where the trucks can get over here and load. It's a really nice day out. It's supposed to be like this all weekend, so we're going to try to make the most of it all weekend. Like I said, pretty good little pile of wood. Pretty good little start there. Jump back on this devil and see if we can get a few more. It's pretty country out here. I mean, if you're into cattle, into cattle country, that's about all this is. Just big open pasture and prairie. And actually, this piece of ground here used to be timbered, but they dozed it off several years ago. They've made a lot of pasture ground. They own about everything as far as you can see. Now, we worked this morning up here in this grove here. I've still got a little bit of cleanup to do in it yet. Of course, that brush pile's on they've got this fenced off, but the walnut grove's on the other side of this fence. It kind of makes a 90 degree and heads back south. Pretty good grove of trees. There'll be several good trees there in the future yet too. So a lot of trees to look forward to. I got the brush pile just down over the hill there. We got some way off. I mean, just about as far as you can see, we've got trees to go cut. That's the only bad thing about some of this, is just how far you got to drag it. Still better than cutting pallet timber though, or oak timber. So we'll sure take it while we can get it. That's a good little grove of walnut there left. A lot of trees in there. That's a pretty good day right there. We got out probably right around 5,000 feet total. The wind out of the north is starting to pick up now. It's afternoon, so I don't know that we'll go back and cut anything else this afternoon. I might go back and pile a few tree tops. Tomorrow, I think we're just going to cut tomorrow. I would say the next 2 days, probably Saturday and Sunday both. I don't know that we'll drag many, but we're going to try to lay a lot of them down. There's a method to that madness. Trust me. I don't like to give away. I have a lot of, and I know this is terrible. Turn that hard rock heavy metal music down there. I know this is terrible to say, but people, they'll ask me questions a lot about how we do things. And I'm usually really open about things. I am, but there's just some things I don't talk about too much. for reasons why we do it. But I heard my dad say when I was just a young kid, he always used to tell me, you don't want to tell everything you know. And I kind of took that to heart. I always like to keep some things to myself, but pretty good day. Like I said, the forecast is really looking good. I mean, we're kind of out of the rain for a while. I think the next chance is Wednesday, which, like I said, we didn't get it too bad right here. I think Dad said he had 9.5 inches total out of that first rain, and I think another 2 inches out of that second one. So we had a lot of rain, but we didn't have near the flooding everybody down in the southeastern part of the state did, up around St. Louis, I-44 corridor, northeastern Arkansas. Those poor people down there, they're still having trouble with rain and flooding. Man, I feel bad for them. That's terrible. I mean, that's especially, I know some folks down there in that Mountain View, Winona, Birch Tree, Eminence, down there in that area that log, and man, I feel bad for you guys. I know that's gonna probably make production rough on you guys. I mean, I hope it doesn't, but I'm afraid it will. I'm sure I'll talk to some of you guys in the coming days or the coming weeks. I'll hear from you. It's always like to kind of keep in touch with everybody, make sure everybody's doing all right. So maybe it won't hurt you guys too bad down that direction. I did. Somebody asked me a question on YouTube today about the Branson area. The last I heard, when we filmed the video down there at Table Rock at the release of the dam, they've scaled that back quite a ways. They're not releasing near as much from Table Rock now as they were. I believe the lake's crested, and they're starting to bring it down to a safer, more manageable level. Now, they are here at Stockton now. They are starting to release out of Stockton, out of the spill gates. And we'll probably try to go get some film footage of that. Stockton's not a real big dam and a real big lake. I mean, we generate hydroelectricity here. Listen to me, I say we like I'm a part of it. But they generate hydroelectricity here, and it's a real pretty lake. It's not real commercialized like Table Rock or Lake of the Ozarks, where they allow building on the water's edge. They don't allow that here in Stockton. But it's a real nice lake for which I can count all the times in one hand I've been on that lake, guys. I've lived here my whole life. I'm not a lake person. But they are starting to do release. We've only got 4 gates here at Stockton. And it runs into Truman Lake, which runs into Lake of the Ozarks, which runs into the Missouri River, runs into the Osage, which runs into the Missouri River, which runs into the Mississippi, and so on and so forth down the road. Good brown gravy and all that jazz. But we'll probably go try to get some footage of that. It's always pretty neat to see it. So, guys, I'm going to get off here. As always, thank you so much for sticking with us, following along. A lot of new subscribers here. We've like 100 and, as of today, like just this week alone, like 100 and I think 30 some altogether. Like, wow. Thanks a lot for, catching up with us. Glad to have you guys. Welcome to the Turner Logging YouTube channel. It's everything you've heard it was and more. It's glorious. But as I was saying, thanks a lot everybody for following along. Appreciate it, each and every one of you. I really do. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Turner Logging LLC. Be sure to check out Logger Threads and get yourself some new shirts. You can find that on Facebook and Instagram. Then, of course, our pride and joy, the Timber Tracker app and the Timber Tracker Network. You can download that free app. It's available for Apple and Android phones. Free to download. Check it out on Facebook. So if that's everything I think I've got covered, guys, we'll get off here, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great weekend. See ya.